Well met, heroes, and welcome back to the Summer Championship here live from Jönköping in Sweden. We are at DreamHack Summer, and we are about to find out who is going to emerge victorious between the two teams that are going to clash on this gigantic stage. It is going to be eStar Gaming from China versus MVP Black, the reigning world champion, against the Chinese all-star team, if you want to call it like that. And this is going to be an intense game. Get your friends here and make them watch this series if you ever wanted to tell someone to watch Heroes of the Storm, because this is going to be world-class team fighting and action non-stop, Jae-Hao.
I mean, it's crazy because if these guys are in different brackets, you would almost say that these are the two teams that could easily face off in the finals. They're that good. I mean, we've seen MVP Black not necessarily at their best yet, according to them, even though they've completely dominated. eStar with a great showing earlier. Gilly, I know you're a big fan of eStar. I mean, this entire series right here could say a lot about the rest of the tournament.
It really could say a lot. We talked to Xiaoti after their win over Team PBA, and he was talking about potentially retiring. So if this is the tournament for them to win so that he can retire on a win, that's what they want to do. But these teams have clashed so much, and I know we're going to talk more about that. And it's not always gone their way. In fact, it's never gone their way.
Yeah, eStar is still waiting for their first major success over the Korean team that is, of course, MVP Black. And it's not going to be an easy obstacle to overcome. We are, of course, in the group stage number 2, which means it's getting pretty close to the playoffs overall in 2 days' time. So if you want to make that first important step, you better win this series. The loser, however, is not going to fall out of this tournament just yet. They will still have another chance to actually make it all the way to the deciders match. As you can now see in the bracket here, it is updated. We're still in Group A. Group B, of course, is going to be taken care of tomorrow, and we, of course, have a lot more teams to talk about there. But for now, the Ventic, they're looking strong, but no matter which team drops out here is going to be their next opponent, and not an easy one. Who do you think will actually have the upper hand? Is it even possible to predict anything like that, Jae-Hao?
I don't think it's impossible to predict. I think we probably know who we think would win, but this is Heroes of the Storm. This is Heroes of the Storm. If you slip up once, you make one mistake, late game, early game, mid game, it can change the entire dynamic, and these teams have both the capability of doing that.
And taking first place once, actually, here in this winners match is going to be very important. You know, there is a lot of fierce competition that's going to be happening tomorrow in Group B. A lot of people are theorizing, you know, that Tempest maybe could be taking first, so that would be a way of dodging them potentially in the semifinals here.
Right.
For whoever takes first place. Then again, I mean, the Group B is so stacked as well. Like, it could very well be any of the 4 teams that are there, you know, Dignitas and Mind Sanity as well. So it's going to get very exciting here.
So if we actually stick to our plan of saying MVP Black is going to come out on top, which by no means is a guaranteed factor, guys, don't get me wrong, they would actually be the ones to potentially, as you mentioned, Todd, to dodge Tempest, and we would have potentially a Korean overall finals. But for now, let's stick to one Korean team that is, of course, the reigning spring champion. And MVP Black, they are here not only to impress us, but also to defend their title. Let's see how they prepared themselves.
아까도 말했지만 일단 유럽에 처음 오게 된 계기가 이 토너먼트를 통해서 오게 된 게 의미가 제일 큰 것 같고, 저희가 한국에서 그 슈퍼리그 결승전을 지고 왔는데 여기서 다시 힘내가지고 재기할 기회를 되찾은 것 같아요.
Who's still engaged though? I don't know if they should be here. That's going to be a sundering separating them up, and this is the perfect opportunity for MVP Black to take some kills. Yao gets ancestral healed. Sign gets 3 with the mosh pit.
챔피언십에 오게 돼서 기쁘지만 저희가 한국 리그에서 준우승하고 온 거라 그렇게 마냥 기쁘진 않고 여기서 우승하면 기쁠 것 같아요. 일단 돈이 되니까 의미가 있는 것 같고요. 나머지는 제 별로 중요한 거 없는 것 같아요. 돈 말고. 아니요, 그런 건 없고요. 그냥 저는 제 할 것만 하고 별로 다른 사람의 일에 대해서 그다지 신경 안 쓰는 편이에요.
우승하고 싶습니다.
MVP Black looking strong in almost every sector, Todd. Is there actually a weakness to this team at all?
It really feels like right now there isn't, and you say they look strong. I feel like that's even an understatement. To me, so far, they've looked like a pre-programmed computer that just can't lose. Kind of like in chess, like their drafting is just every single time you think of the best thing that somebody could take or the thing that's going to counter the opponents perfectly, and they've chosen it. And they've played so well as well in the actual games. So draft-wise and playing-wise, so far, they look absolutely unstoppable.
Versus Tempest, we saw a little bit of weakness for maybe the first time ever with MVP Black, at least since they lost to TNL at the very first Super League. And part of it, I think, really came down to momentum and focus and maybe even getting tilted. And Dread and I talked a lot about that and whether it was because they didn't really have respect for any of their opponents. They had said after playing at TNL that they hadn't really faced anybody they thought was true competition since eStar. So whether or not they'll find that until they, I guess, go against a Tempest again, I guess we'll have to see. But they do respect eStar.
I feel like when you're that confident and you're that good for so long, sometimes it takes a little bit of a burn to basically like reignite that fire. And the fact that, they were taken down, they've come back here. I mean, when Rich was talking, he was talking about he was motivated by the money. I mean, why not?
Sure, I mean whatever works for you.
But I mean, there's always going to be something to motivate you. And I think that when you're on this big of a stage, it kind of brings you up to perform just a little bit better.
Definitely. And I mean, there is a massive prize pool. I mean, we're always talking about the competitive spirit and about how teams want to make a name for themselves, but we should never discard this hefty prize pool of $500,000 that is, of course, in the tournament.
Yeah, and $150,000 for the first place finisher. That's $30,000 a piece. Not too bad of pocket money here to take.
Seems good. Seems good. Definitely wouldn't say no to that.
I wouldn't either. That's for sure. That was a great prize pool. And yeah, they want to be the champions again. They want to defend their title. There's something to that as well, for sure. Besides the fact that there's so many people saying, well, they lost to Tempest. MVP Black are done. What will they do? But that doesn't look that way to me
at least
all.
Not to this point. If we had to compare those two teams in terms of play style overall, Jaeha, what would you say is the main difference? What does eStar do differently than MVP Black?
It's almost a matter of what does MVP Black do so well, and that's pretty much everything. Whether it's from draft, whether it's from the way that they play. I mean, we talk about PBA. They faced off against MVP Black at the very first part of the day. MVP took it slow, but there was never any hesitation on were they going to win, and they showed that. eStar, however, played PBA earlier and had a little bit of trouble. So those are the mistakes we don't see out of MVP at all. And I think that's the biggest difference is that some of these other teams can have one minor slip up and it can change the way things look. MVP, though, however, has not missed a step all week long.
And we are now going to display and highlight eStar's gaming preparation work. They are, of course, known as the Chinese Dragons, and they are here to make a statement to break the unbroken leadership and reign of the Korean teams. And let's see how eStar did exactly that.
就是我们组建 eStar 以来，就是我在电竞行业也连数比较久，因为我们挑选的队员都是非常有天赋、非常年轻、非常厉害的队员。然后我们每天的训练量是10到12个小时，然后我们很勤奋，我们有着就是共同的目标，所以说我们可以战胜我们对手。对。
这几天多训练一下节奏，然后尽量用快节奏的打法去击败他们。
就是我从小的梦想就是当一个职业选手，然后我做到了，然后我的职业选手的梦想是拿世界冠军，所以说每一个世界舞台对我来讲都是我的一个梦想。然后这一次过来，我们的目标也是世界冠军，然后对我来讲的话，它的意义非常重大。我希望在这个舞台里面可以展示到自己，展示到eStar。
All right, eStar Gaming, they are looking ready to duke it out between themselves and MVP Black, of course. And we mentioned that Zhao Ti, he is, of course, the mastermind behind the team. He's the leader. But there are just so many individual components as well that add so much strength to this lineup.
That guy right there, Toomey, was one of the guys we got to highlight in the earlier game. His fall stat play was stellar. I mean, he made play after play after play. I really like that guy on that fall stat.
Yeah, but this is probably my favorite player for eStar, and that's Xingxi. His gray main play is what we got to sell earlier, but it's gray main, it's Lee main. Yeah, there's just I think even Tychus was played by Xingxi, so all of these assassins that he just plays so well and knows that he can rely on his team to get him out of trouble when he plays gray main as ham as he does.
And of course, we also have someone I personally like, for example, was Tiger. I mean, we've seen crazy aggressive Rhaegar plays to the point where I thought, hey, is this guy on the right role here? Is he not misconfusing it maybe with a melee assassin? But certainly very impressive.
Tiger also kind of was known at the Spring Global Championship for a really weird Uther build that he did. He was the only one playing Hammer of the Lightbringer. And everyone was like, Tiger, what are you doing? But
And they didn't really overextend much as well in a lot of these moves. That's what I really liked about eStar's earlier series. The only real mistakes that they made was when somebody was too far out on the lane and then kind of got caught out of position. So they're going to want to look out, because against MVP Black, if they start making this kind of mistake, it's going to be very difficult for them to do well here.
You said they don't overextend, but boy, do they push the limit. I mean, they push the limit.
They love to play aggressive. I mean, it's their style. Like we were talking about the main difference between these two teams, MVP Black, it just feels like they're just, I feel like solid would be a very good word to describe them, both in the draft and both in game, whereas the Chinese team here, eStar, a little bit of unpredictability, some wildness to their play, where sometimes they will make big ball plays, go for the attack, go for the ambush somewhere, and as much as it can be a high reward if it works, it's also going to be a high risk, because if it fails, some of these attacks are going to cost them the game or make them fall really far behind as well.
Definitely. And I think we have waited long enough. Let's actually take a look at what battleground these two teams will face each other. It is none other than Sky Temple. Could it have been any more exciting? I don't think so, because Sky Temple, we mentioned it earlier, is a map that guarantees early game rotations and early game team fighting action.
there's potential for lots of rotations, especially between mid to bot if you're looking to try to catch people out in that solo lane in the bottom. It forces the team fights around the temples, which is always great to see objectives that make you have to clash. I know that eStar will be especially happy about that one.
And Curse solo map too. We haven't seen much of it.
We did earlier in the week, but Todd was talking about rotations and the possible if you overextend, you can be punished for it. And this is one of the maps you could easily be punished for rotations.
Yeah, but it feels like also it's one of the maps where I guess if you're eStar and you're looking to maybe play something very aggressive, maybe even see something like a Kerrigan come out here potentially, or just an aggressive comp, it's definitely one of the better maps here to try and catch some MVP Black players out of position, get a lead, and then never really let go of it. So it's going to have to be solid once again from MVP Black.
One of the ways to help stop rotations very quickly is don't allow false stand through. MVP Black not going to allow eStar, not going to allow Yuumi to grab that. And the heavy priority, once again, Gilly, for Muradin for MVP Black.
Yeah, they're going back to the Muradin, which they've been doing more of these ETC and Kael'thas, but maybe in gaining speed, going back to something that has felt more comfortable for them in the past, which has been traditionally Muradin. And that's where they were starting originally at the beginning of the first group stage before rotating in. But eStar Gaming are going to go right for what they were before, getting Gray main again for Xingxi, and making sure to pull out Rhaegar, who they've been prioritizing at this stage in the second pick every single game we've seen from them so far.
A lot of teams would have prioritized Kael'thas there, but it feels like eStar, they're in love with Gray main. They love their Rhaegar as well, and MVP Black now. Kael'thas is going to be a pretty obvious pick, I think, and then ETC going to be available as well if they want to go for it.
Not long ago when they faced off, eStar actually went for an Abathur pick on Sky Temple against MVP Black, and I think that's easily on the board when you have somebody like Gray main.
How did they do with it?
Not...
Probably not the best.
No, they won that game.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, they can play the Gray main, double Gray main style that we've seen a lot of teams try to perfect just because of the fact that it's just so strong. You have to deal with the clone. A lot of times when you have an Abathur, you don't necessarily, it's like the clone, yeah, it's annoying, whatever, but with a Gray main clone, because he goes into Worgen form and just does so much damage really quickly, you have to take it down.
So far, it looks like MVP Black's recipe of choice here to deal with Gray main seems to be stuns. Murden, Kel'Thas,
Yeah.
and Uther, they all can lock him down if he should get too close and too far away from the rest of his team.
I think they were afraid to get forced into a single healer there with the upcoming bans coming up. So they were like, all right, we're just going to grab Uther. We're going to have the Divide Shield to work with, one more stun as well,
Right.
and it's just going to work out very well for us.
Yeah, and that's interesting that we've saw them do that because versus other teams, they've been okay. They've been fine to just go for their support way later on in the draft, picking up things like Lieutenant Morales. But in this instance, they know that eStar has a very strong, aggressive way of playing, and in getting Greymane, I definitely understand wanting to get Uther not getting locked down.
They're
at
showing
that.
respect here, definitely.
Yeah, and eStar was banning Uther after they're picking Rhaegar, so it makes sense. They're following the patterns.
Anubarak and Thrall then get removed.
Yeah, I think that helps secure a little bit less of a dive comp. I mean, you think about the burrow in from Anubarak, and that follows up with Greymane. I mean, who do you pick? You got to pick your poison at that point. But Sonya, of course, one of these stronger heroes, one that we see quite a bit of, and I do think that helps secure their front line. Plus, they banned out Thrall, which means they kind of solidified a little bit stronger front line, at least for now, against MVP Black. But Double Warrior is still on the board, and that's something MVP Black can pull off.
Something I would like to see on the side of MVP Black here against that divey, engagey comp from eStar is to maybe pick up a Falstad, maybe pick up a Zeratul to sort of isolate an engaging hero even further.
Right, well, they banned the Falstad, which was covered up by Sonya. So.
Oh, there we go. That's my bad. But
Right,
Zeratul could
but-
still work with the
Yeah,
Wood Prison,
definitely. We'll see
Yes.
if that's something they want to pick up. But there's Zool.
Talk about wanting to get to the back line. Skeletal Mages, Leap,
Yeah.
and of course, Greymane diving in. That is a potential very dive heavy. Is this an opportunity for Tyrael to show back up for MVP Black?
Yeah, I mean, the shielding would help a lot. Add more to the supporting of Uther, who is pretty cooldown dependent. So that could help in that regard. And then, of course, Sanctification. They get into too much trouble. They use Sanctification, and then they have a few seconds to bring somebody down from eStar once they've all fully committed to the fight.
Imagine an invulnerable Kel'Thas just like spreading Living Bomb to everybody, having some fun.
Especially in the
fun.
late game. Sounds like good times for sure, Todd.
I mean, that's one of the scarier things when you have a heavy melee comp staring down a Kel'Thas. If he lands that triple gravity lapse, the Living Bomb, the Flame Strike, that's a lot of potential damage that could be coming out. Sylvanas, I believe, is still on the board as far as possible pick, but I almost wonder if they're going to go into the Double Warrior, and if that's something they're thinking about, staring at that much melee.
Yeah, there is so much option here, to be honest, for MVP Black. When you open with one warrior and damage dealer and then your hitter, it almost feels like you can do almost anything from there. They pick Arthas. Well, please buff Arthas just got eliminated, and I guess they will probably have a close look at this one.
Yeah? I mean, not only MVP Black, but also Mai and Sandy showed them how it's done. So the Lich King, of course, is still a viable option in competitive Heroes of the Storm.
Do they pick Abathur?
In terms of
No,
zoning,
only, it's like double Arthas, the only reason I thought it, but...
Double
yeah.
KT, maybe.
I
mean,
Arthas is going to do a great job.
I
by
love
way.
the Arthas pickup. He
Yeah.
deals
Yeah.
with melee so well.
He's going to zone out very, very well and be very annoying. Landing a Howling Blast could help a lot as well, obviously, take somebody down very quickly. They're thinking about Sylvanas, no?
This lady.
Sylvanas.
I think it gives them good lane presence. It allows for, if a dive comp comes in, she can hit that wailing arrow and kind of neutralize the initial assault. So that could be a big pickup. So I really like what MVP Black is doing to countering. And speaking of Tyrael, eStar decided to go with Tyrael. That is a dive-heavy comp. Do
Very,
we see
very much.
Judgment Leap or Sank Leap, all of that diving in? I mean, that is... eStar's trying something, and it could make or break any fight for them.
I think they just really want to make sure that they can sustain through that initial get in there, right? I do think Skeletal Mages definitely. We saw Poison Nova before, but with that much melee, that way they make sure that they can fully engage onto the team. And that way, with Sanctification to add to that, it just gives them a little bit of breathing room to make sure that they can get the kill on whomever they pick up.
It feels like eStar are going to be the ones, kind of as expected, looking to try and get into the fights here. You know, kind of roaming around, probably going to have that Watchtower control at the top, or be fighting a lot for it. And then whenever MVP Black, they're out of position just for 1 second, eStar is going to try to punish them for it. But MVP Black, again, they're very solid. They have a lot of escape on their team. It's going to be very hard to actually catch one of them and kill him, because they react very, very quickly to these attacks.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, at the desk and at home, I can't wait to hear our experts' predictions for this upcoming first game. Todd, why don't you give us a start?
eStar is going to take it. I like their draft enough to be able to say that they will do well here.
Gilly, I know you're fond of Chinese teams. Do you agree with Todd here?
I'm going to go with MVP Black.
Oh, surprise.
Because I think that if eStar tries to get too aggressive earlier on, they're going to have trouble because of the Murid and Kael'thas Uther combinations.
And Mr. Jayhow.
I'm going to go with aggression on this one and think that it's going to surprise MVP Black, and I'm going to choose
my man.
eStar.
Unfortunately, I have to go with Gilly and MVP Black here because I think eStar's draft is a little bit too predictable. Everybody expects this divey, engagey, aggressive team coming. I think MVP Black is not a team to get fooled. For now, though, we're actually going to throw it over to our casters in this tight battle. Taekwondo versus Kung Fu, if you will. China versus Korea. And we're going to throw it over to none other than Wolf and Kaldor.
Wolfdor is back, the GSTL throwback, and well, for now, we have a pretty sick game with great comms here.
Yeah, we do. We have one of the biggest rivalries in Heroes of the Storm, if not the biggest. MVP Black versus eStar, the two Asian kings. They duked it out in the China finals, and now they're meeting again at the front of this group. To give you guys MVP Black, they're spawning in blue. Rich is playing Arthas, Meridae's on Uther, Sign playing Murid, Sake on Kael'thas, and Kyocha on Sylvanas.
And to the right side, we have Taiga on Rega, Toomey playing that Zul for the lockdown, and at the front line, NCCCC with Tyrael, Shao T with Sonya, and Jingzi with Greymane. They did it again. Very reminiscent of what we've seen already earlier against PBA. They're going again for a heavy dive comp, trying to roll over the opponent, carry the momentum, and take MVP Black down.
And this is going to be really exciting. The two different comps we have are two totally different schools of thought as well. It's kind of the Chinese school of thought versus the Korean school of thought. Yep. And it's a dive-heavy, melee-heavy comp from eStar, and that's going to give them good team fights if they can take the fight on their terms. The Black splits against them, uses their pressure that they have with Sylvanas. You know, this is not necessarily going to go eStar's way. I have to actually ask you, because these are totally different drafts, whose draft do you like better here?
To be honest, I think that eStar can definitely take it here. Overall, I would give MVP the better chances, but I like the draft that eStar went here. The thing is, like, what they can definitely do, and I really like is they can start to really force the fight with the Bone Prison on Zul. There's, of course, always the cleanse that we have to watch out for, but the idea behind any kind of, like, Tyrael-based melee-heavy draft is always you jump in, you force a fight, you drop that sanctification, and then you basically reign supreme for a couple of seconds. And oftentimes, the counter to that is something like a false stat with Mighty Gust, something like a Tacita with a forced wall. But right now, you can force the battle with the Bone Prison, and then you go ham. If they can force the engagement that they want, they will dominate these fights. But MVP Black is a very smart team, so they are going to try and deny that at every step of the way.
Sure. What's really interesting to me is we're seeing Rich go in the top lane solo again. This is something that he did versus Naventic on Arthas, and something that Black is starting to pick up a little bit more. We're, you know, not seeing Thrall as often by him, and, you know, they're basically just changing up his playstyle quite a bit on these maps. So definitely something exciting to see. As you see, these temples are trading out. Right now, Toomey is getting value in the bot lane, and counter-wise, Sylvanas comes down a bit too late. So definitely a big win structure damage-wise here for eStar.
And a lot of ammunition drained as well. It's just so difficult to deal with Zul in these situations. And now already Sylvanas rotating straight back up, trying to, of course, help out in the middle here as the first temples active. The earlier 4 on the side of MVP, with Meridae going for the protective shield here. We have also Biting Cold for Arthas, who already went for the Eternal Hunger on 1, so currently trying to just get a bit more lane sustain in terms of mana and also extra damage later down the road for himself.
And I really like that we see Energy Royals coming out for Sake, because with this melee comp, like, how can you hit Gravity Laps, or how can you miss Gravity Laps versus this comp that's going to be diving you?
Kyocha actually a bit late on the wave there, gets locked down, so yeah, good job by Zul. But just look at the experience. We have once again very close matches here, and bot lane is still being pushed. I like the way that Zul is having an impact on the bot lane already.
Yeah, and the rotations for Kyocha have just been a little bit late. It's like every time we're seeing Toomey do both lanes, the bot lane and the mid lane, and Kyocha kind of comes and cleans up both. And this time he's going to be dealing with the Giants as well. Big rotation down. In fact, a 4-man down at the bot. Let's see if they can get some damage done here. Maybe grab a pick. Sign diving into the front lines. Already dropping some damage, but looks like they're going to have to back off.
Yeah, with ammunition already drained, they could also start to dive this even a little bit heavier, which they currently don't. But now Zul is up at the top lane. That's where you want him to be. It's actually perfect for them right now. He rotates, and the wave clear that we have on Zul is insane.
Let's see if they can get the healing fountain, though, because that's going to be really important before this next fight. If they can actually kill the healing well in the bot, this is going to make that next shrine so much more difficult to take. And this is often the shrine that determines who gets level 10 first. So for a denial by eStar, they can't get on top of it.
Definitely true. If they get that well, then it is very likely that eStar might even give up that shrine and just simply starts to try and get value from the mid lane and the top lane. For now, though, we have the jump on Toomey, who just backs out for now. They're trying to turn it around once again, though. Arthurs is stuck at the top lane. MVP with only 4 in the middle has to retreat, even though they have the earlier level 7 talent.
Yep, just going to back off there. A bit of an aggressive move. Sylvanas rotating out very quickly to the bot lane as both teams will move on, of course, towards their bruisers. And again, they want to get this healing well, but with the positioning here, it's not going to be possible. And this is going to be, going to the shrine, a very even game.
You gotta love the Chinese. Once again, the Wizened duel is taken on Greymane. They have a super heavy melee comp, and they're just saying, we want damage, damage, damage. We are going to blow these guys out of the water, and they will not know what hit them.
Yeah.
I love it. I love really the commitment here.
With Rhaegar and Tyrael on your side, you basically have 2 supports for the health, the heals, the shields, and then later on the sanctification once he drops that. So it's hard to kill a Greymane in situations like this, so he's going to maintain his techs. And if you get some takedowns, things start to get out of control. Now, we do see again this big push down towards the shrine.
Nice jump here. Tyrael jumps out. Job well done. Shrine, of course, active. Duel at the top lane. Super busy. Has his camp. The pressure here is just too much. Rich can't deal with this. Not on his own. Especially now that we're also having Greymane starting to jump in with Jing Z. They're going for the trade. Bot lane is going to be lost, but a lot of damage up at the top. eStar going for the aggressive push.
And I worry because, okay, it looks like we're going to see this dive to this bot tower, but in the mid lane, Rhaegar is getting extra soak. And he's actually pushing them closer to 10. They're getting damaged onto the top, and yes, the damage is being done to the mid fort by this temple, but I'd say almost equal damage, if not more, is being done in the top lane, pushing towards the keep. So this is definitely a really positive exchange for eStar. MVP Black, yes, they got the temple, but not much else, and they lost EXP as a result.
I totally agree here. It's really smart what eStar is doing, and I find that very interesting because they have this aggressive composition, and we've been talking that there is a bit of a risk for them to just like go too aggressive. But they have a very smart playstyle right now. They don't overextend, they push the advantages, they're trying to fight when they can, but they're not forcing it out of need. So I really like the way they're playing this. Now they have to be careful. They don't have 10 yet. It drops now. So both of the teams with the heroics.
Yep. Let's see if we see the leap. That's what everyone is excited about for Sonya. She is hiding it for now, but it is just going to be the Wrath of the Berserker instead, which is much more standard in Asia. We almost never see it here, but it's something that could have worked out with this dive comp. I'm going to give more sustain and more like safe damage.
I'm really wondering when they are going to try and execute their 5-man combo for the first time. Go in, drop the Bone Prison, force the fight on a target. Tyrael jumps in, drops the Sanctification. Zul right next to him with a Poison Nova. There is so much for potential for a wipe here. But then you look at MVP Black's combo and you realize how much synergy there is as well. So this game, I'm absolutely loving that we have this match right now. This is going to be awesome.
All right, Shouty already doing some damage to Kyoto here. Looks like he's not going to follow up on it. Rich is rotating down. All right, he was on the minimap. Actually stays on Toomey for the time being. A strong push in the bot lane because of the isolation here on Toomey. Sylvanas is getting a little bit more value. And with these slows, looks like they might want to go on him.
Yeah, both teams with a cleanse, by the way, so they can use that. Taiga is once again very aggressive with his Rhaegar all the way up at the front. But look at Sonya. She's well winding in. Greymane is on the chase. The Phoenix is out. They're jumping in. Sank gets popped, and they're going for it.
They're going for it indeed. Shouty, though, is avoided here. Rich is going to help slow everyone. There's the double stun coming in. Nice ancestral going on to Shouty, but a huge Poison Nova going off as well.
Toomey just turning around once more. He's trying to go in for the kill. He was so low, but Rhaegar heals him back up. They have the sustain that they need. MVP had to retreat, but they got sick value from that camp at the bot lane that pushed all the way up to the wall at the keep.
Yeah, getting about the same amount of value that top push earlier on did against Black. So both teams are almost dead even on structures at this point.
We are 7.5 minutes into the game without a kill yet, Wolf. Both of the teams are known for their aggression, for like their kill potential here, but they haven't really done it. Now the temples are up again, and we might finally see the fight is starting in the mid lane.
Oh, here comes the nice gravity lap. So much damage being put up to Sonya here. She is being healed, but Shouty will have to retreat.
Oh, gets back, but at the same time, look at that jump. Sign is just barely escaping as Greymane goes in for the kill. Here's the kill against Tyrael. He's trying to get some value out of it, but that doesn't happen.
Nearly 8 minutes into the game, first blood, and it's all about these gravity lapses. And with the Energy Royals, we're seeing this just constant hits on the gravity laps, the follow-ups, just hitting them over and over and over again. And that's what won them that fight. Also the isolation on Xiaoti. With him gone, he's the main frontliner. Yes, pretty much everyone else can dive in and be on the front lines if you have sanctification to back it up. But if Sonya is blown up that quickly, you do have to kind of back off and disengage. And while they're on the retreat, boom, in comes the gravity laps.
Also, of course, another note. Oh, wait a second. First of all, the bone press, and that could be the end of Mary J. Mary J is completely caught off guard as we have eStar moving in for the kill. Very well played here and a good pickup for them.
Now, it looks like Mary Day is just going to try to get some more vision there, but they're going to dive in. The huge wailing arrow goes up, but there's the Sank to follow up. And remember, Xiaoti's here now. Kyocho goes down.
That's the kill, and they're trying to go for a second one, but at the same time, they're losing Greymane. That's it with the stacks for now. Great Ancestral, but MVP Black, they turned it around.
Take doing
my
so
God.
much damage from behind. He's totally left alone, and the Living Bomb obviously going to do so much with the connects there when you're up against such a melee-heavy comp, and they're even going to lock down Tiger here. Nice dodge on the gravity laps, trying to maybe get a pick on Sake here, but it's not going to happen. And this ends up being 4 for 1.
Damage, Batman. That turned around fast. Like, it was a beautiful trap set up by MVP first off, and they were able to get the damage in. Really well played here. They end up with 5 kills against 2. The control in these fights out of MVP Black is insane.
I want to point out right now, Sake has 24k hero damage. He's #1 in the game, and he is the only one who has secured kills. He has the last hit on every single dead hero in this game at 5-0. It's all been him. It's all these chain bombs that are linking together versus this melee comp. And that's why sanctification is so important. It's the crux of this composition. If you miss it, or if you just avoid, like when they use it, if you just avoid the fight, wait till it wears off, then start dropping down those chain bombs, it's really hard to fight with 5 melees.
Yeah, and eStar, of course. I mean, first of all, eStar is in these fights pretty happy if Tyrael is the first target. If you're playing a Tyrael composition, what you really want to do is, once that you've, fired all your spells, you are happy to be the first to die, because then you can still get value out of your trade, you can blow up into their face and help the rest of your team to get value. But right now we have also Giant Cursed for eStar, and that helps a lot against Arthas, against, of course, Muradin, but they get completely blindsided here. The nice help, they are just barely able to actually keep the tank alive. Up at the front line, Rhaegar on the other hand is trying to jump out. Greymane as well, he gets healed in the last moment. Rich is low, but pops the army, tries to keep himself alive. The lockdown is Sylvanas line. MVP with 4 heroes, but everybody's solo. This is insane, Wolf.
Tuomi stays alive down the bot. It's absolutely crazy here. Xiaoti is still alive too, and he can go back in, and there he goes. He's on Rich here. Looks like Rich will secure 1 kill. Meriday's on the retreat. It's not over yet. There's the Aldruin's in. Looks like he will just barely escape, but and that may have looked like an overextension from eStar. That may have looked like a mistake to see them go that far, but they were so confident. They knew a rotation was coming, and they baited it, and they sanked.
What just happened? We're going to take a closer look at it. Look at this fight. Everybody's about to die. They're jumping in. Sylvanas is dead. They're rushing after every single one, but it's Muradin who dies in the end. They're trying to drop Arthas, but the Rich is too fast. He kills Rhaegar first before he himself is taken out. What a fight, Wolf, and that happened after we saw MVP Black blindsiding them from the top, rushing in. What a beautiful engagement here.
Yeah, they just knew exactly what was coming, and I think it was almost a bait there from eStar. eStar's a smart enough team to where they didn't have any vision of anybody, and they were not just going, I guess we'll just stay here and see what happens. They knew a fight was likely to come. They had sanctification up, and that turned that fight on a dime. Now they're still behind in levels. They just got their level 16. They're still down on structures, but they're fighting the way back into this game. And if they can keep taking fights like that, there's absolutely potential to come back here.
Oh yeah. I'm actually really surprised that we have Earth Shield taken for Rhaegar over the tidal waves, considering how they've been engaging into these fights. A lot more sustain heal would be great for them, but the Earth Shield, of course, amazing if you're trying to save a target that is about to blow up. Rhaegar now on 16, also with the Earthgrass Totem. And Tyrael, by the way, not going for Holy Ground or anything. He doesn't care about that. He wants to stay alive. Blood for blood it is. And temples are being fought over once again, on the same talent level, of course.
Yeah, if he can actually, get that extra damage to the blood for blood, the shields go down, and you could get the reset on the go for the throat. That's obviously going to be what they want to go for. Already locked down now, though, is Ting Si.
Yeah, trying to go in once more. Phoenix is left behind. They're moving in. Sanct has been popped. The cooldown is over.
Oh, that's
still have an engagement. They're trying to go in for Xingzi this time. He moves away. He still has his stats. Oh, Kyocha diving deep with the wave, going back out. And we have the Ancestral coming through. But it looks like Tyrael is going to fall here. The poison over. He's still alive, by the way. Blood for blood kept him alive a little bit longer. He's re-engaging, but it's the death of Sonya that finally turns the battle completely against eStar.
Nice splitting there against the trait of NCCC as well. They did minimize the damage there, and this is going to be a huge, huge win right now for MVP Black because they win the structure. this structural battle here. They win the temple. We are going to have a pause here, it looks like. But just continuing to go into this, they win that fight. They are going to get the next temple, and I believe this will secure them 20. I mean, there's very little that eStar can do to deny that. It's going to be tough to come back.
A huge asset also when we are looking at MVP now is Arthur's. Rich currently playing him. Not only did he complete Eternal Hunger, his quest talent, but we have him also with Frostmourne feats now on 16, where you can basically empower 2 of your basic attacks. The big deal here is also that not only did he on level 4 go for the Biting Cold to increase his own Frozen Tempest damage, he picked up Frigate Winds on 13, so now he reduces the attack speed. That is absolute, toxic for Sonya. That is just tremendous amount of damage lost to Greymane as well, and of course to Zul, who picked up on 13 Giant's Curse. It's an incredible important pick in the draft for them.
Now, when you look at what eStar is doing, they've also taken some really powerful level 16 talents. We talked about the Blood for Blood, but also they have Executioner on both Zul and Greymane, so they're going to be able to do a lot of extra damage once they start to get those slows off. It's all going to be about the totems that Rhaegar puts down, because that's the main slow they've got. And it is a scary fight. It's very snowball-y, though. You need to get that kill. You need to get that reset with a go for the throat. Then you can win those fights. Otherwise, it gets problematic because of all the slows you're talking about. We even have Benediction for Uther, so we can double stun.
Not only that, I mean, at this point, Meriday is basically playing piano. He has the Protective Shield, he has the Cleanse, he has Benediction, he has the Shrink Ray, and he needs to hit all of those perfectly. That's so many activatables that he currently has to pull in every single fight. Greymane jumps in. You need to have that Shrink Ray ready when he does so. You isolate a target, you see like, all right, they're going to try and blow one of my mates up. That Protective Shield has to be on point. Then we're talking about Benediction. There's so many things that Meriday has to do right now, and he has been playing in a fantastic game.
All right, well, as we get back into things here, I do want to remind everyone that level 20 is getting closer and closer for Black in this game as well. It's right now, I believe, 5 structures. Yeah, 5 structures to 3. So the only structure missing for Black is actually the top fort. So that's not the boss lane. It's not that impactful. I do feel that eStar is going to have to win a fight before 20.
Oh, yeah.
And they're going to have to win several more fights to win this game. And boss is still on the table.
I completely agree with you here. The work that MVP has done is absolutely amazing. They lost a single fort. They destroyed every single fort that we have on the side of their opponent. The Chinese team is in trouble. Objectives have been going all game long to MVP Black, and they are running with that advantage. If they hit 20 and they get another Shrine phase, it's going to be a disaster for eStar. They need to change something. And guys, that's the moment right now to change it up, because the game is back and we are jumping straight in as the boss is already tagged with 2 heroes down and Barb Shot taken for Kyoja. They're just immediately moving for boss, but we still have them getting shots at the shrine.
Yeah, they're going to get the last shots. It was a risky rotation here by Black, but because instead of trying to deny the boss, which they didn't have vision of, eStar goes for the shrine. They don't get the shrine. They don't deny the boss. So they lose both on both facets here. And this boss moving towards a keep where the wall is already down. The keep is also damaged. This could be the first keep of the game.
It should be. It definitely should be. At this point, what is going to stop you? You have Sylvanas in your lineup. She can just simply disable the structures. And then they're already going deep. Look for Muradin. He's trying to flank in here, seeing if he can maybe jump in and get a lockdown. There's always Arthurs to consider with the Howling Blast for the additional CC. They're going in, and here comes, of course, Sylvanas. Disables it. They're going in. eStar is trying to push it in. They want the fight. They're going deep. They drop the tank, and they go once again for the kill against MVP.
Yeah, huge slows coming in here onto MVP as well. A nice silence going down. Shouty, though, stuck in the back. Killed there again by Sake's Flame Strike. And CCCC in big trouble here. He's going to Aldruins into the back, but that's not going to save him. It's only going to buy time. Divine Shield is used as well. Rich up in the front.
Divine Shield of Kel'Thas expires as Tyrael explodes, and that is the end of Kel'Thas for now. But it's a triple kill against eStar. The boss is on core, and with 4 heroes there, a kill on Zul. MVP Black goes for the kill against the core. They're on core already, and this is going to be game number 1 for MVP Black in this series against eStar Gaming.
GG. That was a great first game. MVP Black having a totally different composition than what we saw from eStar. eStar showed that they could make it work in certain fights, but they lost the majority of them. It was 12 kills to 6 versus this type of comp, which usually should be the other way around if eStar is winning that game, because they're diving in, they are getting team wipes, not just one kill here or there. And Sake was the man. In that game, he was 7-3-1 with nearly 50k hero damage, never missing his gravity laps as he went went Energy Royals, and he kept hitting them over and over and over again, disabling all those melee heroes.
The last fight as well, they know they can't fight underneath the boss, so they just go past it. They try to go for the team fight. They know this is the only chance that they have. In the end, it turns against them and lose the game right there. But it was basically the only chance they had to maybe turn it around. But of course, there's a lot more to talk about when we're talking about game number 1 in the best of 3 series here at the winners match in Group A. So let's hear from the panel what they have to say about our first map.
Thank you very much.